listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, John Cross.
Hello and welcome to the After Movie Diner, and here we are in the Red Flame Diner on 44th Street in Midtown, just a stone's throw from Bryant Park, where at the Bryant Park Hotel, in the screening room, deep in the basement, me and the inimitable and wonderful Marcus Pinn from Pinnland Empire and Zebras in America, and what's the other show you do?
Well, I'm on Wrong Reel a lot.
Wrong Reel, that's it.
Which I'll be back on quite a bit soon. And Pink Smoke, of course.
Pink Smoke, right. But yes.
We can start,
Yes.
Those are the primary ones.
Check them all out. But anyway, he's been on the show before. We talked tape heads. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And he is one of forever member of the Grandma Boys
Absolutely.
Trivia team.
Absolutely.
That took the last ever trivia round at Videology.
Heck yeah.
You ready or you need a few more minutes?
I'll do the chicken tenders with a side of barbecue sauce.
Fries?
Yes, please.
Anything, this is going to be one check or you want a separate checks?
We can do one check.
Okay.
And then Diet Coke with lime wedges.
Lemon?
Oh, you don't have lime? Oh, lemon's fine. No problem.
And I am still thinking, but what do I want? Sorry. I will have the Bison Burger Deluxe. And actually, sorry, the Bison Cheeseburger Deluxe. Swiss, please. And regular fries with that. And yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Just that.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem. Cool.
Yeah, so, sorry, and the founding member and forever champion of Grandma's Boys, the trivia team that was the last to take the crown at the Videology Trivia in Brooklyn. Marcus, it's an absolute pleasure to have you back on the show,
Great
sir.
to be back on. Yeah.
It's always fantastic to have you on the show, and we have just seen, as I said, deep in the bowels of the Bryant Park Hotel. I don't know if I'm giving away trade secrets there, but we saw the Jim Jarmusch zombie movie,
Yes.
The Dead Don't Die.
Fresh out of Cannes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have not, aside from the press release they keep sending me, I have not read any reviews or anything. How was it received in Cannes, do you know?
It was, it's hard to, it was received okay. I mean, Jim Jarmusch is royalty at that festival. That's kind of where he blew up. Most of his movies play there. And then as far as a couple of reviews I read, I mean, just for those, Jim Jarmusch is one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. That doesn't mean every movie he's made that I love. Case in point, this movie. No. But we'll get into that more. But no, a couple of reviewers have liked it, and I think it's you can tell. And I'll probably be doing the same thing. I think because he's Jim Jarmusch and because of the cast and everything, I think people. I don't want to say like blinded, but I just think people go, oh, it's fun and cool and whatever. And they wrote like kind of light, fluffy pieces about it, so it was received fine. Which I guess at the end of the day, maybe we'll get in. We don't want to do too many spoilers, with the exception of the ending.
Well, no, the
movie's fine.
Yeah,
but yeah,
yes, and I think you're going to have the same problem with it that I do. However, we are going to get into it. We won't I don't think there's anything you could super spoil about this.
Sure.
But if we start off, what we normally do with brand new films is say at the beginning of the episode, would we recommend it or not? That way, if we would recommend it, people can go see it before they listen to the rest of the episode. If we wouldn't recommend it, people will just listen to the episode. Yeah. So would you recommend people go see it opening day in the theater? Is it a go see or is it not? Or is that
I'll
hard?
say sure.
Sure?
Only because I want Jim Jarmusch, I want all his movies to be a success.
Right.
Even if they aren't necessarily great like this movie was.
Right.
So I'll say sure. I'm not going to give it like a hard yes.
No.
I'm not going to say no either. I'll say sure.
Sure. That's fine. I understand that. I get that. I would say...
With a little subtext, it would kill me if this was someone's introduction to Jim Jarmusch,
Yeah.
I'll add that little tidbit.
No,
also.
I would agree with you. Don't let this be your introduction to
No,
Jim
please
Jarmusch.
don't,
That's the
please
first
don't.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Secondly, I would again say go see it, but and my caveat is as long as, and I don't think people do anymore, have a problem with this, but as long as you don't have a problem with a kind of almost catastrophic level of hip irony.
Yeah. One scene in particular, God.
One scene in particular almost shot this movie in the neck for me like a lame horse.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed when we were like my hands went up, and I was like, wait, what are we doing?
Well, you actually said in the theater, I mean, a lot of other people laughed, but you actually went, what? Like,
I didn't even catch. Wow, I didn't even catch myself doing that.
No,
Wow.
which was my thought processes anyway, so that was fine.
Yeah.
There's one moment in the film that we will talk about at the end of the podcast. So that is kind of a spoiler, but it is also the sticking point.
Yeah.
There's also a bit at the beginning of the film where they do a similar thing, which
What, like with the keychain?
no, with
Star Wars thing?
No. Earlier in the film, where there's 2 points. First of all, when they get in the car and they put the song comes back on from the beginning credits, and he says,
Right,
it's the theme song.
Right.
Anyway, we'll get into that. So I would say yes, but with the caveat of you have to have a tolerance for hip irony.
Sure.
That I think most people are going to find pretty hard to stomach if they are in any way a film fan or a zombie film fan or a Jarmusch fan. However, I think the general populace won't even fucking notice.
Or, I mean, based on the other...
That's because I have a disdain for the general public.
Sure. But I noticed, too, just by names and faces and stuff, some of the people in the screening were, like, pretty well-known critics.
Yes.
And their reaction was just like, they loved it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like...
Well, they laughed at it. I don't know how much they loved that. But it wasn't the groan that I was expecting.
Yeah, I think it was like a generally positive laugh. So
yes.
I don't know. I think people... I mean, we're in this era of like... And this will tie right into... One of the things... One of these like ironic mentions is just like... We're in this like Stranger Things time.
Yes.
With, like the whole idea of like nostalgia and in jokes and like I know what that is, and it's just like so like the whole thing with the keychain, Star Wars, the movie stars, the new Darth Vader guy. It's just that I think people kind of
the George Romero
like that. The George See, you know what I'd love? So the start of the movie when they're like the whole kind of overshot of the car driving by the graveyard, it's just like the start of Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, completely, and it even heavily acknowledges that.
Right, but it shouldn't have said. But then when George Romero, I was like, no, don't say that. It was cool at the beginning.
Yes.
Like I actually like that because Jim Jarmusch, one of the billion many reasons he's one of my favorite filmmakers is because he never hides his influences.
Yeah.
He's all but in turn, a lot of the directors that he openly talks about that influenced him would never make a Jim Jarmusch movie. That's what I like about him too. Like he borrows from people, but he makes his own movies.
Although weirdly, not in the way that Jarmusch writes, but certainly with the pace with which he normally tells his stories.
Yeah.
Romero is weirdly close. Like if you watch something like a Martin, or if you watch something like a Crazies, or if you something that isn't his Dead trilogy, septology or whatever, sextology or sextology or whatever you want to call it, because there's 3 more movies after the 3 that everyone likes. The movies that he made outside of that, Night Riders, The Crazies, Martin, and outside of the creep shows, because obviously they're a bit different, but those ones in particular, they are slower paced, they are more character based, they are reduced in dialogue in a lot of the same ways that if you look at Jarmusch's earlier movies, particularly my favorite Down by Law or something like that, like they have a similar pacing. They are within a genre, and they acknowledge the genre. But Martin is unlike any vampire film you've ever seen. Night Riders is unlike kind of any kind of action.
I don't know that one.
Fantasy film. It's the one that's set within a Renaissance fair, but it's set where the Renaissance fair knights ride motorbikes instead of horses. It's like a weird kind of genre.
The After Movie Diner with John Cross will return right after this.
On Van Dam Street in the pouring rain, they watched his window with eyes of flame. Inside, time was getting short. Cigarettes were being smoked to extinction. He violently wished not to have to go to the merry gentlemen in the street below. Deep inside, he knew nobody chooses the hour of their damnation. He looked at his dog asleep on the bed and softly scratched its dreaming head. Deep inside, it was shouting down the moon in a war of attrition. But it stirred as he quietly dragged his shadow down the stairs that sagged. Inside, his dog put its face to the window and bared teeth that shone like salvation. The tumbling glass flickered eyes of flame on Van Dam Street in the pouring rain.
Are You Hurtling Towards God Knows What? A brand new book of poetry by J.E.A. Wallace, available now on Amazon. And we've made it easy for you. You can click through the banner link on aftermoviediner.com.
You're listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, John Cross.
So anyway, I noticed, like, as it began, as the movie begins, like you say, with this small town, Centerville, and there is one particular sequence sort of later after you've been introduced to Bill Murray's sheriff and Adam Driver's deputy, where the police car essentially drives around all the locations we're then going to visit later in the movie in a very kind of almost a tableau, except for the moving car. In a very, Wes Anderson does sort of very similar. And it's weird how much now in this sort of post Rushmore era and post Broken Flowers era, how many of those cast members cross over.
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please.
Almost everyone in this movie has appeared in either a Jarmusch or a Wes Anderson movie, or both previously. Aside from a couple of like completely weird cameos.
Well, I wanted to say too, because we've obviously know each other outside of this podcast world, and you mentioned we've talked about. I really want you to see Patterson. I think you've.
Yes.
But what I'm.
And weirdly, after this. I might almost give it a go. I would be more inclined to give it a go.
There's nothing like this movie.
No, I know. But the only reason is that something struck me, which has always been my bugbear with Adam Driver, which is his insane low energy. Like, I just want him to wake up. Yeah. And yet what I suddenly realized is that his low energy kind of works in a Jarmusch movie. So
absolutely.
It kind of...
More so in Patterson, not so much in this.
No, but that's what I mean. So when you said about Patterson, having watched him in this, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see how Driver would work in a later Jarmusch movie.
Sure.
Not that he's as low energy as Bill Murray is in Broken Flowers.
Right.
Thankfully, Bill Murray actually puts in a performance here, unlike in Broken Flowers where he can't be bothered. So anyway, let's quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much plot to speak of, but basically, small town of Centerville. It's a very kind of Pittsburgh outskirts, Pennsylvania type town. Yeah. Where, of course, everything is achingly Americana. Although, weirdly and interestingly, which is sort of both a joke and just a weird non sequitur, the town also has a youth detention center.
Yeah.
It sort of doesn't make a lot of sense, but it does lend itself to a couple of great visual jokes. And due to some heavy-handed satire, zombies rise to the grave. What I mean by heavy-handed satire is, in this world this takes place in, polar fracking has knocked the world off its axis, which is causing a whole lot of irregularities on planet Earth, including the dead rising from the grave.
And little things like...
The moon has like some weird glow around it.
Animals sense what's up.
And fuck off.
And they just, other little stuff too, like technology, like phones and radios and TVs don't work, and which going in, I was like, okay, it's kind of, this had like a and I kind of got what I asked for at the end. I was like, oh, this is almost like a ode to kind of like B movies, and is this like an Ed Wood kind of thing? But then when the UFO came, I was like, oh no, this isn't what I want. Like, you know, but yeah.
So that is a spoiler, and that's fine.
Okay.
No, we're letting people know.
Okay.
But yes, that does. There's so many things in the end that over-egg the pudding, but
No.
and weren't really necessary unless you were going to make it a plot point.
Yeah.
And this is so. If I haven't, I'll have an overarching statement about it, and then I'll delve into it.
Huh?
But my overarching statement is, I came out of the movie disappointed, not because of what it was, but because of what it wasn't. He had this movie will forever be known, and they're even marketing it as such, as, you know, the zombie movie with the greatest cast in history, which is only if you have, it depends what you consider a great cast. I think Dawn of the Dead has the greatest cast in history.
No.
None of them ever became hugely famous outside of Ken Faree doing some B movies, but like, I still think for a zombie movie, it has one of the greatest casts. Night of the Living Dead as well. However, if you're talking A-list names,
Exactly.
this has the greatest cast. So the frustrating thing about this movie is there are scenes in this film, there are moments in this film, there are moods in this film that are so close to being exactly what I wanted from this film that the few scenes that really let this film down, and like I say, kind of shoot a lame horse of a movie in the neck, to use that metaphor, are the bits I wish he'd just fucking jettisoned, because they don't add anything. And then there seems to be a subplot which goes nowhere with Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
So my problem is I like, and I mean like, 70% of this film. Like, I genuinely like it.
I'll say that, yeah.
And there's 30% of it that I'm just like, fuck you, John. Like,
Yeah.
fuck you. Like, I'm really angry at him for.
Me, it's more like 70% I really liked it. 20%. I guess it's fair to say the history between me and Jarmusch is different than you and Jarmusch. So it's more like 20%. It's like a parent seeing their kid not try when they know that they're awesome, and you're just like, oh Jesus Christ. And then the other 10% is like, fuck you. It's that FU.
Yeah.
It's that FU vibe. So pretty close enough.
No, totally. I understand that. The bits that I like about it fall squarely into two camps. One where he stops trying to be clever and actually makes a zombie film, or makes a horror film, or makes
Such as, though, like what,
I thought that was ketchup the whole time, and it's spicy. I'm sorry. I'm dipping my fries in it, and I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, go ahead.
I thought it was ketchup the whole time.
No.
It's your barbecue sauce. I apologize. So, such as a lot of the zombie sequences were genuinely really good.
They didn't rely on like CGI. It was like really people doing the whole like dead walk kind of thing, which I enjoyed that very much.
The idea that the zombies would be filled with dust rather than blood is kind of genius, and I've never seen it before.
Sure.
I mean, outside of vampire films, but vampires are meant to explode into dust. The fact that a corpse in the ground reanimated would be full of dust makes a lot more sense. I'm glad that he went with the people coming out of the graves and people in different dress, and there was so much of that I really enjoyed. The soundtrack is terrific. It's just outside of that country song, but the soundtrack is terrific.
Very Jarmusch, a very chill vibe.
But also a very B-movie zombie vibe. So there's that.
Sure.
The other bit is that, you know, so anyone who listens to the show knows that I'm a really big fan of two independent filmmakers in particular. One is Don Dola, and one is the Matt Farley, Charlie Roxburgh out of Massachusetts. And there is a vibe to American homegrown, and I'm going to use the word innocent, and I know what I mean by that. What I mean is the independent movies that are made in this country by filmmakers who are not trying to ape 70s grindhouse. There's a lot of indie horror exploitation movies that are made in this country that I've seen as well that have their place and they're fine, but a lot of them are just trying to ape the tits and ass bikers, nuns with guns kind of parody exploitation thing. Everyone has a fucking eye patch. Everyone, everyone gets their breasts out. There's a needless car washing. It's all influenced by Tarantino and Rodriguez's grindhouse and like stuff like Hobo with a Shotgun. It's all
even before
or Troma or whatever.
But yeah, you're right.
So there's that, but there's also a strain of genre filmmaking in the U.S. that is innocent, homegrown, handmade, quirky,
Have a nice night.
Americana, and chock full of ideas that even if the budget can't execute them, they are still sort of achingly charming, and you're kind of glad that they're there. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big sucker for that kind of filmmaking. I love it. Dola does it with sci-fi stuff. Farley and Charlie do it with either horror or sci-fi or thrillers. So it's just really great. And The Dead Won't Die plays 75% of it like a movie like that, only with an insane A-list cast. Yeah. But it plays like, so for an example, just to kind of give you an example, in Matt Farley's early feature, Freaky Farley, the town has like a town poet, and the town has like a town ninja, and there's like these quirky characters, and they don't overly comment on them. They're just like, oh look, there's the town poet, and he's just there like doing poetry on the corner, and they walk past him, and it's sort of a nod, but you don't. It's never unexpected. It's just setting the scene for this sort of innocent town. And there's later movies that he's done where three tutors, out-of-school tutors, are sort of heroes of the town. Like he kind of elevates the sort of normalcy or the mundane or whatever, and kind of makes it heroic and funny.
Okay.
And there's parts of this movie, whether it's the guy who runs a gas station that's also sort of a
like a movie nerd.
Well,
movie comic
book nerd kind of shop, which of all the kind of referencing stuff, I didn't really mind that. Like I liked the way they did it. It seemed sort of genuine. It seemed like, it wasn't really poking fun at the guy, but at the same time, the guy wasn't going to be the Shaun of the Dead hero either. He was just going to be this guy. He was who he was.
I did, for a second, I thought maybe there'd be some heroic moment just for the fact that Caleb Landry Jones and then Selena Gomez comes in and like he has this moment with her where like, oh, she's so beautiful, I love her. I was like, oh, okay, so is he gonna like save her at least? Right. And now he's not gonna save the day, but that spoiler, that doesn't happen either.
No. Well, yeah, I don't think Jarmusch has got any interest, and I think the last line in the police car before the finale indicates this. He has no interest in writing a plot for this movie, which is kind of problematic.
Yeah.
Sort of very problematic. But I liked that Larry Fessenden ran the motel, because if you're going to make a horror movie in 2019, you have to put Larry Fessenden in it. And I love Larry Fessenden.
But for a while, since, he's always, even outside of the horror genre, like a filmmaker like Kelly Reichardt, like her first film, River of Grass, he's the co-star of it, but I know since 2011, from You're Next on, he shows up in like, he's kind of this like godfather of like American indie horror stuff, which is great, which is fine, because I love Larry Fessenden.
He's having the career Bruce Campbell should have tried to have instead of being an asshole. And so it was really nice to see him show up, because it's sort of Jarmusch going, I'm not going to put Ted Raimi in this movie, or I'm not going to put Robert Englund in this movie, or I'm not going to put Reggie Bannister in this movie, but I'm going to put Larry Fessenden in this movie. That's a certain
Well, I think to like
in-joke
Jarmusch fans, like Larry, because it's that whole indie thing. So I think like guys like you or me, as soon as he shows up on screen, it's just like, oh, hey, Larry Fessenden. Whereas like, exactly, if to the general public, if they saw Robert Englund outside of the Freddy Krueger makeup, like, oh, it's, you know.
Right.
So.
And I do think that Tilda Swinton's part has a little nod to the tall man in Phantasm, the idea of an alien running a mortuary, I guess.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking about Ghost Dog and all the like samurai.
Well, there's all the
references.
Ghost Dog stuff. There's the fact that people always say about her, what is she, an alien?
Yeah,
you know.
That's true. Damn, because a lot of time going back to Wes Anderson. I'm going to bring him up again too. But like with Wes Anderson, Tilda Swinton, and I get it because she just how she is. It's not insulting her. She just looks different. She is different. But I hope that. And in every Jarmusch film, it's like, oh, let's put this cool wig on her, and she's tall and lanky, has this pale skin, but it's like roles like that. Sometimes I just don't. Yes, please. I don't want people to lose sight. Oh, yes, please. I don't want people to lose sight that she's such a great actress. But whatever, I get it. Like Michael Clayton, for example, that movie. In general, it's just like, all right, whatever. It's like this Oscar movie with George Clooney, but her performance in that movie.
That movie.
I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I love her in that movie, and that's the movie she wins the Oscar for, which I actually do kind of love. And it wasn't, some heavily makeup kind of between like that, Snowpiercer.
Do you know what I really like
Moonrise
her in?
Kingdom. It's hard to get a grip. It's just like, all right, wait, who are you? What makeup character were you in this movie? I start to lose.
I know what you mean. She's sort of devolved into the female Johnny Depp, but there's Michael Clayton, and weirdly enough, and I fucking hate the movie, but the Amy Schumer movie, the first one that she did.
Oh, Trainwreck? Mm-hmm.
In that movie.
Oh yeah, right. Oh
Guys,
yeah,
okay?
right.
Thank you.
Everything is all
Yeah,
right?
we're great.
Thank you.
You need to check and stand as long as you want, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get it ready for you.
Oh, okay.
In that movie, Tilda Swinton plays her like highly fake tanned American style fashion magazine boss.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was her for like 2/3 of the movie.
Right.
So I think she is a great actress. She's moved into Quirksville. Also, can we just say for a minute, like,
so did this movie.
right? But how exceptionally, considering, look, I always get stuck for this. I get it, he's a nice guy. I get it, he was a Marine. I get he helps out veterans, blah, 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 blah. But Adam Driver is not a great actor. I don't care what anyone says. He's an okay actor. He's fine. He's good at what he does, but he's not a great actor.
And I just think unfortunately, he gets cast in like, he's kind of an it guy.
Yeah, how is it that he's
niche,
worked with Scorsese, Gilliam, Jarmusch, who else?
Spike Lee.
A
lot, Noah Baumbach. But also, that's why I keep going back to like, if he'd just be doing like his character in Patterson is literally, he's just like a working class bus driver who's also a poet that just likes to keep his poetry to himself. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He's just kind of like, oh, like that role. That I think it's an illusion like Patterson, because by 2006, Adam Driver was one of those like, oh, he's in everything.
Yeah,
and that role, it set him apart. Going back to Quirksville and Tilda Swinton and stuff. Another thing, and I kind of felt this before going in. We brought it up, the greatest zombie movie cast ever. To some degree, I feel like Jim Jarmusch was doing the whole like New York Yankees, Golden State Warriors, Wes Anderson thing, where it's just like he almost played it safe, where it's just like, I have everybody in this movie, so no one can complain. Because how cool is it, like, that Tom Waits and Iggy Pop are in the same movie as the RZA, or like Caleb Landry Jones and Danny Glover? It's a little, he relied too much on just like the names.
Right.
Like there's no way you can. And also on a personal level, the older I get, ensemble movies, unless they're done right, which these days is rare, they just kind of bug me, because it's just kind of like, that could have just been a talented no-name actor that could have done those two scenes or that one scene.
Yeah, it's almost a shame, because like since Royal Tenenbaums is the pinnacle, it doesn't really get any better than Royal Tenenbaums in terms of a very starry named ensemble cast.
Oh, well, I really like
in
it.
No, so do I. I love it. It's my favorite of the Anderson movies. And then Life Aquatic comes out, and you're like, I like Life Aquatic, but you're like, does it still work having all these famous people in? And then every movie out the gate from then on, it's like, which one of... And what's funny is, it's not which one of Wes Anderson's famous friends are going to be in this. It's which one of Bill Murray's friends can Bill Murray convince to do a day on this movie.
Right.
Even down to Carol Kane showing up in this for literally 2 words of dialogue.
Yeah.
That's Bill Murray calling up Carol Kane going, we need one more name. Let's get one more name in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Now, Jarmusch has his own Rolodex. We know who he's worked with in the past. And we know that, like, Iggy Pop and Tom Waits and people like that are people he's worked with.
And I got to jump in real quick to insert, as far as, like, positive stuff, I'm a very director-oriented guy. So if you love Jarmusch, you almost can't hate the fact that, like, this cast is made up of people from his day one people.
Yeah.
Permanent Vacation, 1980.
Yeah.
Up until, like, you can go all the different phases. He's got the, like his wife, Sarah Driver, is the female zombie next to Iggy Pop, and Sarah Driver is the quiet champion. A lot of Jim Jarmusch movies would not have been made had it not been for her helping him get them made.
Right, yeah.
And then you have, like, Tom Waits, that he started the Down by Law and was the voice all throughout Mystery Train. You have Rosie Perez, who was in Night on Earth, and then you got the newer people like Bill Murray and Tilda Swinton.
Waits did Night on Earth. He did an original soundtrack for it.
And then, Esther, I'm gonna butcher her last name, Bozant, from Stranger Than Paradise. It's weird seeing her older. She's the woman who ran the diner. So so I do. It's kind of like the high school reunion of Jim Jarmusch movies. So
and actually, the cast. So first of all, the cast didn't really bother me, even the starry nature of it. Selena Gomez's cameo is a little gratuitous. But again, if you want to go see a film where Adam Driver decapitates Selena Gomez, you know what I mean?
Even how she was dressed felt like, just like you were saying earlier, like a scene, like an outtake from Grindhouse,
right?
From Tarantino's section specifically.
100%. But so first things first, the film is generally funny. It is generally funny. Yeah. There's some legitimate laughs in it. The film also, running through it, has some really nice moments. For example, they have this child detention center in this small town, which in itself is like a quirky joke. Like, why would a town like Centersville, nowhere, have a child detention center?
Yeah.
So having one there is sort of interesting. And
you finish, sorry.
Yeah, and there's also a weird thing about the whole, like, child graves being separate from the adult graves as well, because there's no children in town except for the child detention center. So I don't know if there's like something that I don't know that you can. Anyway, but the fact that all the orderlies in the child detention center are all like 6 foot, incredibly muscle bound, white tight t-shirt, pro lip with the shaved heads, that's sort of an in joke. That's like a kind of, I can't describe it, but it's sort of a visual joke. That if you've watched enough movies that you're aware that they always put in stereotypical hard nuts playing the screws in either a prison movie or a detention movie, that having them in there is like a fun genre nod. So there's lots of things like that in there where you're like, okay. Then there's the commentary on today, the heavy-handed satire, which is incredibly heavy-handed. For example, Steve Buscemi's
character, but not even the cap, just like, I mean, Jim Jarmusch is, he's not some outspoken political guy, but if you read enough books or interviews, you get the gist. And there's a scene in the movie where Bill Murray and Adam Driver are finally piecing together, it's a zombie attack, we have to warn people. All right, well, we have to warn, Steve Buscemi's character. And Bill Murray's like, oh, fuck him, I don't want to. It's like, that's such a, just like, hey, I don't like to be this, like, bleeding heart liberal person, but 9.5 times out of 10, when someone wears that red MAGA hat, they're trying to, like, do you see me? Do you notice me? Like, they're just trying to be a troll.
Right.
So if there were a zombie outbreak, the MAGA hat people would probably be last on my list that I would alert. So I totally get that. I get that part.
And I thought that there was a very nice touch with Bill Murray, who's the old, should-be retired sheriff, knowing some of those older guys. Like being able to say, Frank's always been an arsehole. You know, like being able to say that. Being able to say about Tom Waits' character, who plays Hobo Bob, who lives out in the woods. And sort of weirdly narrates the movie, and not enough for my liking. I almost wanted Jarmusch to give Waits those lines and be like, rewrite them, Tom, because they weren't Waitsian enough for me. There were some moments. But...
And that's the thing. When his voiceover narration got great was at the end, but I really didn't like the ending. So it was a weird mix of like something I like on top of something, I don't really like this.
No, he's definitely a welcome presence, though. He definitely was great throughout. But like I liked how Bill Murray's... So this was my problem. He sets up this really nice small town. I don't mind the Americana nods of having like the 50s motel. I don't mind having what is now the stock horror character of the geeky nerd who runs a little shop. I have no problem with any of those things. And I love the vibe and I love the soundtrack. My big problem is that instead of just making a really good zombie B-movie within that scenario with the cast that he has, for some reason, and it's not just references to other movies, it's not just like comments about Romero or comments about whatever, but or even having like RZA show up in a
Woo PS
rather than UPS coat. I'm almost fine with that.
Well, I expected that was gonna happen,
but like, because it's quite a funny joke, but it's when it starts to reference itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was really, really, really problematic. And then the second problematic thing is, so it was really problematic. So that it happens 3 times. Happens at the beginning when they're driving along in the car, Adam Driver and Bill Murray. There is a song called "The Dead Won't Die" over the beginning credits. Then you see the opening scene. Adam Driver and Bill Murray going out to see Hobo Bob, and then they're driving along, and on the radio comes the same song, and they have this whole conversation about why does this sound familiar, and then Adam Driver just comes out and goes, well, you know why it sounds familiar, because it's the theme song. And Bill Murray's like, the theme song? And he's like, yes, the dead won't die, right? So there's no need for it. It's not funny. And it sets up this really weird running gag about this one song by Sturgeon Simpson.
Yeah, they say his name enough in that movie.
Right, and
forget.
And I have to say, like, is he a real person? Is he a fake person? Or is it?
No. Yeah.
And because I've never heard of him. I mean, not that I'm big into country music, but I've never heard of him. And the other thing is that Jarmusch doing like a joke on like product placement?
Good question.
Because I took that to be a joke on product placement.
Because even my nitpicky mind, I noticed when they were changing the radio dial with Selena Gomez and her friends, like they had a really old-fashioned car, and then when she bought the CD, I'm like, your car doesn't have it. Why'd you buy that? Your car doesn't have a CD player.
Right.
But I didn't even think about the product placement part. That's really funny.
I think it's a joke on product placement, which is kind of why I didn't mind it. But I did mind them going, it's the theme song.
Yeah.
Like, it's so bad to put the nail on the head of the joke. It just doesn't work.
And in retrospect, looking back, I'm going back to that Star Wars thing. Like, so...
Yeah, the Star Wars thing.
Like there's a moment where, Tilda Swinton, where Adam Driver gives Tilda Swinton the keys to his car, and it's a Starship key, it's Star Wars keychain, and then it's kind of like, all right, we get it. You're in the Star Wars movies.
Right.
And now looking back, I was like, okay, yeah, that's all throughout this... I should have expected the ending almost.
Right. So the movie has this horrible irony throughout, and they're even advertising it as, don't come for the movie, come for the cast. You know?
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oof.
The trailer, and not only that. So I want to talk about zombie movies. Just I'm going to put in a pin in it for a minute, but we'll talk about zombie movies. But so there's that bit. There's a bit later on where Adam Driver asks Bill Murray something, and Bill Murray goes, what are we improvising? As if to say, like, are we off
damn,
script?
I ain't even. Oh shit.
And
wow.
and then at the very end, so all the way through the movie, Adam Driver has been saying this is all going to end badly. And right up until the end, there's this really nice bit in the police car before the bad bit where, you know, Bill Murray is saying to him, like, you are really taking this in your stride. Like, what the hell is going on with you?
Yeah.
And this is why the reveal then pissed me off so much. I really like that. I really liked his character, the idea that the world has gone to hell, and not that there's a nihilist, but there's this pragmatist who's like, well, they're not alive, they're dead. Because in all zombie films, there's always the people who have to, like, struggle with the fact that their relatives or the world or whatever is come back to life and is walking around. And here's a character in a zombie movie where he's like, no, they're dead. They're not alive. They were alive. I remember them being alive, and I'm always going to remember them being alive. These are just dead people, and I'm going to, like, it doesn't matter. That was a really nice character. So to have then the reveal be, and this is another major spoiler, but to have the reveal be, do you want to know why I know it's going to end badly? Yeah. Why? I read the script. What do you mean you read the script? I read the whole script. The whole script? Yes, the whole script. Jim gave you the whole script, and then they're name-dropping the director. Yeah. And Bill Murray almost saves it by going, do you know how much I've done for that guy? Even stuff you don't know, which almost kind of saves it.
Well, I like the delivery of that line. He just quickly cuts himself off. He's like, even stuff you don't even know about. Yeah, like he does deliver that pretty awesomely. But
because you kind of feel like with both Wes Anderson and Jim Jarmusch, that line is real. He has done a lot for them. But that ruins and undercuts any attempt at a character, a plot, or a feeling of this community. Because up until then, even with the little referential things and even with some of the satire, he had gone to pains to establish this town. We'd gone to all the different locations, we'd met all the different cast, we'd learned a little bit about them, who had pets, who didn't have pets, who was in love with who wasn't in love with who, what their interests were, what their relationship was. And that was actually like I said, like it had this sweet little innocent B-movie vibe to it, where a lot of people who write B-movies, because most of them like grew up in small towns in America or currently live in small towns in America, write about the family, or write about the local police department, or write about the local diner.
Similar to Jarmusch, just like a little note. He lives, I'm sure he still has a place in New York City, but he lives a lot of the time, he lives upstate, in upstate New York. And this place reminded me of like that Hudson Valley, like kind of the more off the beaten path areas of the Hudson Valley. Right. And I'm just wondering, I was like, oh, because Jarmusch has a place out there. I wonder if like living out there for all those years like kind of influenced this movie, because it has the vibe. But
and it almost feels like, you know, the fact that the fact that he puts in that heavy a self-reference that takes you out of the movie from a film lover's standpoint, like really angers me. I can't tell you how much it angers me. There was so much that I liked about the movie, and to undercut it almost because you don't have faith in your own bullshit really bothered me. Because it would only, and I say this so often on the show, but it would have taken like not even a full rewrite, half a rewrite to fix the problems with this movie and make it something that, yes, was funny. Yes, here's a crazy cast of ensemble friends that I've had through. Yes, here's some ridiculous jokes about zombie films or whatever. But also here's a movie with some heart, with some characters, with a plot, and with a, you know, because ultimately zombie films begin, progress and end more or less the same way. You can either do the siege ones, or you can do the we're out running away from them ones, or you can do the here's a group of people who are surviving and here's a group of people who are whatever. You can do little things, but it all comes down to the people. It all comes down to not the dead, but the humans. The dead can represent something you don't like in society, and they even do here. Multiple things he doesn't like in society. But if you don't have that core heart to your zombie film, it ultimately fails, and that's my problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming months, when this movie finally comes out, to the public, there's the piece on the whole Trump aspect, the piece on how we're slaves and zombies to our devices, or even, the current climate we're in. I'm also expecting, and in this case, they're kind of right, almost the waste of Chloe Sevigny's character.
Right.
Just the, I hate falling into this, but it's like, of the three cops, the two guys get to be the tough macho ones, and she, it was just totally out of, because her whole when she's introduced, she's just deadpan and calm and kind of just like whatever, and then the minute a zombie comes for the rest of the movie, she's, oh god, we're gonna die, oh my god, no. I wasn't expecting that from that character. And
even though you have Tilda Swinton as an ass kicker, she also turns out to be an alien, so it's not the same as having a strong woman in the movie.
Exactly, yeah. But I don't care too much about it, but even the decision to kind of almost turn Chloe Sevigny to the scared damsel in distress was like, what?
Right. But you also never had Danny Glover comment to Steve Buscemi, what the hell? There was no confrontation there either.
Yeah, right. Well, there's the little confrontation. Oh, it's too black for me.
Right.
Oh boy, yeah.
And it was weird, actually, that I assumed that when a black zombie came to the door of the racist guy, that the zombie was going to kill him.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Or I thought it was going to be the kind of
which is obvious, but it's still, that's where I assumed it was going to go.
Or I
didn't expect him to kill him.
What was Tarantino's thing? The thing in the snow, the Western.
Oh, Hateful Eight.
I thought it was going to be more Hateful Eight, where Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Dern start out hating. I mean, they hate each other to the end, but there's still this almost respect at the end, where it's just actually, I'm glad that didn't happen, but it's because there's always the savior black character, hey, you're racist, and you'd probably kill me if the tables were turned, but I help you. So actually, I take back what I was getting ready to say. I'm glad they didn't do that. Never mind. But I did expect when they first were together at the diner, I was like, oh, there's going to come a time where Danny Glover's going to help Steve Buscemi or save him. So never mind. Actually, I'm glad that
Danny Glover should have been the one to let him die.
Exactly. Yeah, or that too. But then, that's almost the opposite. It's the heavy-handed. So I'm glad they were just separate.
No, I get that. But it's just interesting if you're going to have a prominent black character in the film and a prominent racist in the film.
Yeah.
I get not commenting on it is maybe more interesting than commenting on it.
Right.
But it was sort of odd to even have, because you could have had him having a MAGA hat without it specifically being MAGA hat equals racist.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was sort of, on one hand he's being super heavy-handed, but on the other hand he's going to try and be interesting and not comment on it. You kind of almost can't do both. You know what I mean? It was sort of weird.
Yeah.
But let's talk zombie films, because the reason why I want to do this is because I'm a zombie film fan, but I'm certainly not one of those guys who's sat down and watched, back when Netflix started out, back when it had a lot of movies on it, it was a wash with any number of fucking zombie films, because there was certainly a point about 5 years ago where both independent filmmakers and also what I call semi-independent distributors, sort of the 500,000 to the 1.5 million mark, were shitting zombie movies out like they were, I don't know, shit. Shitting them out like M&Ms or whatever. And the whole market got swamped. And it started very slowly with 28 Days Later and the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead remake, and kind of grew from there with Romero getting the money to do Land of the Dead, but then Universal not really putting their marketing weight behind it, and that kind of sinking. Anyway, then Shaun of the Dead and whatever. And we've had in all fairness, some modern examinations of the genre that are at the very least interesting. But we've also had a lot of schlock and a lot of crap out there, and a lot of stuff that just puts "of the dead" on the end of the title and then just films any old crap. Yeah. And some that aren't even zombie movies, but are packaged as zombie movies in order to sell them. Thank you. And it's sort of weird that it became such a genre with staying power.
We didn't. There's also, I mean, this is in the later years, but The Walking Dead was the thing, so much that there's a spin-off. I mean, I've never watched Walking Dead before, but now they have Fear the Walking Dead. And that was a whole.
Yeah, no, completely. No. Walking Dead is a phenomenon. There's been lots of. I mean, it has the one horror genre that has proliferated in the 2000s in the same way that slashers did at the beginning of the 80s. It's zombie films. And so when you say Jim Jarmusch zombie film with this cast, there is a certain expectation there. And I was all ready to kind of go into this movie and sort of say, this wasn't needed. The zombie genre has suffered enough. Let it die. What it doesn't need is the, quirky New York whitehead hipster version of a zombie film with Bill Murray in the lead. However, watching it, I'm like, I could totally go for the Down by Law, Mystery Train era Jarmusch making this movie. Do you have any? I don't quite know where I was going. I was trying to talk about the zombie.
No, keep it going, because even just I'm having between the intro of The Dead Don't Die and you talking about Down by Law, his black and white period, I can almost see that, just him doing it. But I don't think and I guess unfortunately, he's not that anymore. But yeah, in the 80s or even the early 90s, I think it would have been interesting for him to do that. But now, I'm really trying not to say he's phoning it in, because his last movie, Patterson, was really, really good. But the movie before that, Only Lovers Left Alive, his first kind of toe dipping into horror, because it's a vampire movie, that movie's kind of just I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I don't really have the need to want to watch it again. Limits of Control. This Dead Don't Die has so much in common with Limits of Control, in that it's just kind of he's trying to coast on coolness.
Right.
And it's a lot of the cast of The Dead Don't Die are the cast in Limits of Control, and it's another just huge ensemble cast. Yeah. You get someone for a few minutes and then they're gone, which to me it always throws me off. But no, I think he could. I think. Well, in the 80s, Jim Jarmusch was still young, and I see something somewhere in between Down by Law and Mystery Train. Had he done a zombie movie, I think it would have been a success. And he didn't have the same resource, and it would have been a different movie, because there would be no Bill Murray, there'd be no RZA, there'd be no
Well, also because and this is what I'm thinking right now, is that because I was kind of compartmentalizing the movie and kind of going, there were a few bits where he was self-referential, but the rest of it was kind of nicely B-movie-esque. But now I'm worried that all the bits, like the dead coming out of the graves, those shots, the spooky moon, the birds flying away, the fact that there's a death scene in a 1950s style chrome diner, the film reference things, aren't him homaging those things, but rather it's him being arch and ironic about those things. Well, of course, I'm going to have the hand coming out of the grave because isn't that passé at this point?
Right.
And I really hope that's not the case, but I worry, because they were the bits I liked, because as a film fan, and as a film fan from everything from Edward all the way through, in terms of horror movies.
Right.
And in terms of Don Dola films and Matt Farley films and even some of Troma's better films and indie Americana as a whole, I want to believe that he loves those things as much as I do. That's why he put them in the film. Not that he's nonchalant and ironic and standoffish about those things. So we kind of put them in the film to kind of go, yeah, look, have this.
I think it's a little bit of both. Jarmusch is a movie lover of so many genres, but after having heard him speak, I've been to a couple of Q&As the last couple of years, and his demeanor, and you know, maybe I caught him on a bad day all 3 times I've seen him in the last couple of years, but there's a bit of a cynicism to him and a bit of like, I'm kind of over it. When people have certain questions that all the 3 Q&As that I've seen since 2004 through 2016, there's this kind of like, I don't know, or just like, no, I didn't think that. Like, he's just, he's kind of like fed up.
Yeah.
But I just going to the fact of like saying George Romero in the movie references Pittsburgh, where he's from, you know, George Romero's from. Also Cleveland, because that's where Jim Jarmusch is from. I think there's a genuine, like, respect. But I think that it's clouded up with his kind of like, yeah, I think in the last decade plus, I don't know if he knows exactly what to do. I think he's just kind of, bored's not the word. I think he loves making films. He wants to make a movie, but I think there's something stuck there.
Yeah.
And like going back to what I'm saying, he's coasting on coolness. He's coasting on all his friends and his friends of friends and everything. So
yeah, but it's just I've no problem. Like, there was part of me, I went through so many emotions watching this movie, I can't even explain it.
Right.
But there was like parts when I was watching this movie and I was like, wait, did he just get a bunch of friends together and have fun? Because if he did, I'm sort of okay with that as well. But like, there's so many different ways to attack this movie because, and I don't mean attack it, but I mean come at it.
Yeah.
Because it's never one thing. And not that it needs to be just one thing. It could have, like I'm saying, it could have included almost all of the jokes bar about 5. I would have jettisoned like about 5 of the really heavy-handed nods on the thing. And if he was really doing a running gag that was meant to be like a studio trying to sell a soundtrack album, like the running gag about the country and western thing could almost be an attack on the fact that with every Tarantino movie, here comes the soundtrack. You know, everyone suddenly
I really
becomes
hope
a fucking.
that is. I really hope just for the fact that he is. I don't want to go off a tangent on Tarantino, but they've always, anyone who knows anything knows that it's just like Jarmusch came first, Tarantino came after, and it's just kind of like you can just movie by movie, just you go down by law. You never actually see the prison breakout, you just see the aftermath of them running away. Cut to Reservoir Dogs, you never see the jewel heist, you just see them like running away. And then you have Mystery Train, it's this like multi-story, everyone's kind of connected thing. And then you go to Pulp, with references to Elvis. Then you go to Pulp Fiction, it's this multi-character story thing with references to Elvis. He does his Ghost Dog thing, scored by the RZA, you know, featuring the RZA is in the movie. And then we get Kill Bill, another samurai influence movie, scored by the RZA. You know, it's kind of like this. So I just wonder after
I
like
had never
decades.
put them side by side like that.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
that's incredible.
So I just wonder, like, after decades and decades of like watching this guy, like, it's finally, you know, I'm finally gonna take it. Oh, and the other thing is too, Tarantino's famously, what drives me crazy about him is he knows his shit about movies, but anytime there's certain specific movies that it's like, whoa, you must have borrowed from there. It's like, oh, I never saw that. And it's like, oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, of all the stuff you've seen, you haven't, like, you've been on the same festival circuits as Jim Jarmusch for how many decades? You know that you work with the same people, not just the RZA. Like, but you've never seen this, or like, the biggest thing that just made me, that started my downward was the Francois Truffaut film, The Bride Wore Black, where it's about this woman who's avenging her husband killed by these people, and she has a checklist, and she's these people one by one, and it's just like, and then this interviewer asks him, he's like, you know, I've never been a Truffaut guy, and it's like, oh, so The Bride Wore Black. It's like, it's kind of literally Kill Bill, and then he's just like, oh, really? And it's like, just, you're lying. Like, I just feel like you're lying. I hate calling someone a liar.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sure it's not. I think Jim Jarmusch has a little more class than that, but I would love for that to be the case, a little inside joke.
No, but I think that's why I wouldn't even, like, of the 5 jokes, I wouldn't even remove that running joke about the song.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have them go, it's the theme song.
Yeah.
But I would have them constantly referencing, like, oh, it's Sturgeon, whatever, off this album. Like, that I didn't mind because it was kind of him saying, you know, here's the movie and don't forget to buy the soundtrack, you know. It almost should have had a title card at the end that was like, and the soundtrack by blah, 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 available in the lobby, you know. because I felt like it was almost like a top secret gag or a airplane gag, or like in Naked Gun where they have the Herman Hermits gag, and then at the very end you see the little MTV title card for
and
Herman
see, that's
Hermits.
the thing. When you all those three movies that from Top Secret to Airplane to Naked Gun, it's almost like, well, then go that route.
Yeah.
Go all the way.
Yeah.
Don't kind of like, no, just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Like, either do one thing or the other. Like, I don't want to try to box someone in, but like as you're talking about these kind of like from start to finish movies that are in the know. It's like either go all in or don't try to, because that's something like cool kids do. It's almost like I'll throw it out there, and if it fails, well, I'm cool. I didn't even try. So and if it does succeed, it's like, oh well, it's just you've got my mind working as
no, completely. And like there was a lot about the movie that was as well. I felt like it was his Jim Jarmusch screams "Get off my lawn" movie, meaning there's a whole sequence in the movie with all the different zombies where phones, drugs, pharmaceuticals, fashion, all the stuff that he hates about modern culture, and he was just like, zombies represent idiots with their phones. Zombies represent idiots on drugs. Zombies like he was like, I'm not going to have one thing that zombies represent. I'm going to have a whole bunch of things that I just fucking hate because I'm old. I'm a hipster and I hate shit and I'm just and it
and almost like he's killing because it's whether he likes it or not. When you think hipster, he's like one of the original going the late 70s, early 80s, and I wonder if on some it's just kind of like, is this what even though he's never referred to himself as a hipster, it's like, but it's still like, is this what I birthed? Or it's like, are these people, it's funny too. I was expecting.
Well, he's the hipster that jumped the shark wearing the waistcoat, the trilby hat, and with a cigarette holder,
Sure. It's funny too. I kept, I was, part of me was just like when the scene when they would lost reception on their phone, because part of this whole zombie outbreak, altering of the world, like people have bad reception. So when Bill Murray was like, to Adam Driver, check your phone. So I just thought he was going to pull out like a flip phone or something. I thought it was going to be another like funny thing. It didn't, but whatever.
No, but I think it would, like, Bill Murray's character probably had a flip phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I feel like, again, there was some commentary on, on one hand, I really like that I can go see a movie where you have Bill Murray, Danny Glover, Larry Fessenden, these weird-looking, lumpy, older guys. They look human. They don't look like Bill Murray's not hiding the fact that he has a belly. He's got his belly like proudly on display. Larry Fessenden's not hiding the fact that he's got mad teeth and crazy hair and a stomach.
And Danny Glover, it wasn't the scene where they're pulling up to the diner, because up until then he was just sitting, and then you see him kind of like, oh, Danny Glover's old. Yeah, like he's kind of the hunched over, like the longer arms.
It's why it always makes me laugh when they talk about him doing Lethal Weapon 5. Like, are you kidding me with this thing?
But then thinking about those Lethal Weapon movies, even though he was definitely like the straight man and the bumbling whatever, he still was this big hulking presence. Yeah. Even right down to Lethal Weapon 4, the final fight scene, there's some part, like, Jet Li can maneuver circles around him, but there's some parts where he literally just grabs Jet Li and like throws him and just like ragdolls him basically, and you kind of forget like, oh yeah, Danny Glover, and that was 1998, so he's a tall, like, hulking kind of guy, but now he's just kind of hunched over. It's just like, oh, you're old, which is fine. He's aging with grace,
No, but I love the other thing weirdly about this movie, because like I said, went through 100 emotions during this movie. I actually got sad because one of the things that was hitting me about the fact that, like I say, this is a movie that features Tom Waits, Steve Buscemi, Bill Murray, Danny Glover, these older character actors, these guys that aren't afraid to look ugly, aren't afraid to look haggard, aren't afraid to look fat, aren't afraid to look gangly, skinny, whatever it is. They're all deeply weird looking guys, and I say that with like love and affection for deeply weird looking guys. I hate pretty people. Like when the 3 pretty kids show up, I'm like, 3 pretty kids, I hope they fucking die.
Already whoever that guy was in the backseat is like 5-7 years he's gonna be the next, like, whatever.
Right.
I can already see it.
He's set up to be like a Skeet Ulrich, a Johnny Depp. Like he's that character. Like they even dress him like that. He's like, he's the 18-year-old who weirdly dresses like
James Dean, but doesn't even know who James Dean is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I got sad because I was watching the movie, thank you, and I was like, and we talked a little bit about this when we were doing the Woods and Weller episodes. There isn't really, because Hollywood's been, for the last 20 years, predominantly casting exceptionally pretty people.
Yeah.
And apparently exceptionally pretty people who have got no plan to get any older anytime soon, which is deeply weird.
Sure.
When the Bill Murrays of the world, either get too old for this shit or pass away, who's the next generation of because they're all character actors who are capable of playing leading men, right? Peter Weller and James Woods had that great run through the 80s and 90s where they were character actors playing leading men because the film roles were weird or aggressive or esoteric or political or whatever it was, and they were able to do it. Bill Murray is a weird looking dude who's like a weird, but is able to play both a leading man and a character actor. And so then I'm watching the Adam Drivers and the Chloe's, and even those, they're like Chloe, I don't even know how to say her name, but Sevigny, but she's a sort of coming up for middle age, I would imagine, but in general.
Oh, she has to be. Yeah, she's got to be in her mid-40s.
Where are those people? I mean, yes, Adam Driver can play Schlubby and he can play
I was just getting ready to say, but I don't know, they need to take advantage of that more. It's it's almost ruined now because he's the Star Wars villain, but it's when you just from afar you take a step back, you're. And I don't mean to, just like you're saying, it's not an insult, but it's there's something off about your...
Yeah, he's not a normal looking dude.
The proportionate of your arms and your weight and everything.
He's not super
I think
pretty.
they can play, they can play off that. And I remember being really disappointed with Predators, seeing Adrian Brody with the six-pack, and she's like, no, you need to be... Adrian Brody should have been Topher Grace in Predators. He's a weird looking guy. Don't try to make him,
well, it's
Schwarzenegger
we always have this thing, Ewan McGregor's only good when he has a Scottish accent. If he doesn't have a Scottish accent, he's no good. Russell Crowe's only good when he's fat and over the hill. If he's physically fit, Russell Crowe is not interesting.
I love The Insider. That's right.
I even like that. It was a remake of a British miniseries, but I even liked State of Play, where he plays the schlubby journalist trying to track down a political intrigue in Washington.
Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck. Well, Ben Affleck. It was one of the movies he did as it's not a cameo, but it's a supporting role. Sure. But you have Helen Mirren in that. You have it's actually a really good movie if you like kind of thrillers. And with me, I'm almost going to say if Adam Driver is playing if Adam Driver is playing a weird character or a slubby character or a eccentric character, I'm going to be more interested in him than if he's playing pretty Adam Driver.
It's funny, this talk also makes me think, this is, I feel 90% his fault, but had Vincent Gallo not been such an alienating person, he could have been a great top henchman or villain or just weirdo in a lot of movies. But Vincent Gallo does a lot.
And I almost wish, I know he's done a few things, but I almost wish, especially having watched Trees Lounge recently, that Steve Buscemi had directed more movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Lonesome Jim and
because I think
what am I forgetting for another? But whatever,
there was he not that he was showing any incredible talent as a director, although his films are finely made. It was more that he's more the guy who's going to cast a bunch of odd-looking regular schmoes than he is the guy who's going to cast the next pretty thing. You know what I mean? And I did miss that, and I was watching this movie, and again, part of this movie, I was like, all these guys, 10, 15 years, some of them are going to be gone. That's kind of tragic to me, you know what I mean? But it's a hard film because there's so much in it that I really liked and gravitated towards. And there was the latter-day Jarmusch quality that I just wanted to punch in the face.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And I say it as someone who like I say, I watch his earlier movies, and I watched Night on Earth. When was it? I think last year I watched Night on Earth again. I love that soundtrack. That soundtrack's fucking amazing. And I think I'm right in saying the first public collaboration of Waits and Kathleen Brennan, I think. Or certainly the first time he credits her, his wife. Tom Waits' wife, Kathleen Brennan, is now credited as a co-writer on all his songs.
Oh, wow.
but I've got a feeling that was the first time.
Oh, okay.
I know she heavily influences like Rain Dogs and Francois Diaz and Swordfish Trombone.
That's so funny because it's such a like parallel to like Sarah Driver. She was like, she did just about everything but direct and shoot Permanent Vacation.
Yeah.
And then around the time she changed, Sarah Driver is a director in her own right, but then it's like she came up with the original skeletal idea for Ghost Dog and for Broken Flowers and for
and he doesn't credit her?
No, he does. But it was just one of those things where like, you know, Jim Jarmusch kind of blew up and Sarah Driver, you know, didn't gain the same notoriety that.
Well, my feeling with the Brennan Waits thing is that, I mean, neither of them want the limelight, particularly. Neither of them caught the limelight. But I think that, Waits credits Brennan with all the writing of all his songs. Co-credits them for two reasons. A, because I think they do work very closely and collaboratively, and secondly because it's a sort of romantic thing to do, and thirdly I'm sure it's a financial thing almost to do as well. But I don't think it was like Kathleen Brennan was this great. It's not like who's Spielberg's wife? Who was in Indiana Jones Temple of Doom?
Oh, jeez.
Kate Capshaw. I don't think it's one of these things where like she was this actress who was relatively on the rise. Steven Spielberg marries her and we hardly ever hear from her again.
Right.
I think it was more that Kathleen Brennan was always under the... Or even to use a better example, Yoko Ono, who was a very powerful, strong, artistic woman in her own right doing her own artistic thing, who then gets completely overshadowed by John Lennon, who wouldn't have had the solo career John Lennon has if it wasn't for Yoko Ono. Even though she gets attacked left, right, and center, she's the beating heart of that whole fucking enterprise. With hindsight, I think at the time people are probably like, you know, what have you done to our poor John? You know? But I think with Brennan and Waits, I don't think Brennan is looking to court the limelight. In fact, the only time she's been out or even filmed in public recently was when he was initiated into the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it cut to her briefly in the crowd. She was there with him. But outside of that, you never... And I don't feel like that's Waits keeping her down. Like, I've never heard that. I've never seen him be interviewed or heard anything like that about him. But yeah, Waits Brennan, I think it's even in the credits of the movie, I think it credits her with the soundtrack alongside him. I think I'm right in saying that.
I didn't notice.
But yeah, and I don't get from the earlier Jarmusch, I don't get this like need to be, because the thing, I have to be very clear about the hipster thing. Because anyone looking at me, knowing the things I like, they'd go hipster, right? I like old stuff. I have a beard. I'm a geek about movies. I'm a geek about music. I have vinyl. I have a record player. Whatever, right?
It's unironic. I think that's kind of the hard line.
Right.
It's the irony.
The thing with hipster that drives me nuts, and you pointed out very well with the cool kid thing, where cool kids are like, it didn't work, but I didn't really try. Yeah. It's the irony, the aloofness, the I'm above this. Yeah. It's the it's the guys who watch like those B movies and laugh at them rather than see their work.
And that drives me crazy because I'm genuinely, and I know people, and it's just like, do you like this or are you just making fun? Like, I'm so confused right now. It's just like, no, it's great. It's so bad. It's good. So you think it's bad or do you think it's good? I'm so confused. Like, I get when something like there's certain movies that I love where unintentionally funny things happen and you laugh, but like the whole umbrella, everything, it's kind of like that. That's the main thing that frustrates me, is that you'll start having a conversation. It's just like, wait a minute, am I taking this conversation too seriously? Because I feel like you actually don't like it. But then I get annoyed at this weird commitment to ironically like something. Like, we're doing, like just some like, it's almost like close your eyes and pick a random show from the 80s, and it's just like, I'm going to binge watch this show and blog about it. And it's just like, but do you like it or do you not? It's so confusing. I don't get it.
Commit to something.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I always say to people when they're like, what are your guilty pleasures, or what are the movies that you think are so bad and good? I'm like, I don't. If I like a movie, I like a movie.
No. Yeah.
There is no guilty pleasure.
Right.
Don't take guilt from things that cause you pleasure, unless, of course, the things that cause you pleasure cause someone else pain. Then have guilt. But like outside of that, don't. And I've said this all along. I don't watch. I was very clear when we do cover B movies on the diner. While we definitely do it with a sense of humor, we always do it with reverence of the intention,
Right.
the energy, and the effort that goes into making it.
Sure.
If I can see a pure intention, I will look past budget, I'll look past camera work, I'll look past acting.
Yeah.
If I can see a genuine intention, if I can see that someone sat down and wrote a script that even a goofy sci-fi alien in your backyard script, if someone sat down to write that and bothered to put characters and interactions and excitement and whatever into that script, and it works from start to finish based on the intention, I will give that movie the time of day every day, more than I will some big budget movie that doesn't even give a shit and it's just squatting out. Yeah, you can have all the fancy graphics on the planet, but if your script writer just went, oh, aliens attack next, threw it at you, I don't care.
Sure.
I can't be.
Sure.
That's where I come at it from. But and in terms of this one, the sad thing about it is it feels 50-50. It feels like 50% he's like genuinely digging the idea of making like a throwback B movie 50s alien invasion / zombie movie, and then the other 50 he's like,
Right.
okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's a joke about me in my own script. Like
Yeah. Those last 15 minutes or so, I just didn't. And then I remember like the movie kind of went on too after they were just like talking about the script, and I was like, how are we gonna get out of this? And it's just kind of
but that was the other sad thing, because then the line that comes after that, once they go past the horrible clunking self-reference, is that he goes, does he say let's go out there and at least try, or something like that?
yeah.
Right? And then Bill Murray goes, but it ends badly.
Yes.
And he's like, yes. He's like, okay then. That was actually a really sweet exchange again between the two characters, because what you're saying is, let's go out with both guns blazing.
Yeah.
But you're not saying that. You're saying it in a like, there's
go through
nothing,
the motions,
there's nothing
almost.
left to do but try.
Yeah.
And he's like, but it ends badly, right? And he's like, it's going to end badly. And you could have had all of that with the pathos of that and the empathy of that. You could have had all that without that reference. You could have still had a character who just said, it's all going to end badly because he was a pessimist, or because he was a pragmatist, or because he was a realist, or whatever.
Yeah.
You could have had that character. You could have had that last line without it ever needing to be about Jim Jarmusch gave me the script. Like,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then, I'm not sure you liked it, but like, I've no problem with the slow-mo with Waits' voiceover and the cowboy music. Like, I loved all that.
Isolate, out of context, I guess I should say, is great. But knowing what came before and what's about to happen kind of takes me out of it. But if I just zero in on that, it's similar to like this scene of like Tilda Swinton driving down the street.
Right.
The music, the nighttime, everything. Like, that's such a cool moment that I got lost in. And that's a good thing. I think in the last half of the movie, there's a lot of great out-of-context moments, but I can't not think about what's attached to them, which kind of takes me out of it a little bit.
Well, also because it's like, well, wait a minute. Is the reason this is happening because of this heavy-handed satire about fracking?
Exactly.
Or is it happening because Tilda Swinton's an alien?
Yeah.
Like, having that bit, that reveal that she's an alien, just have her as a weird Scottish character. Have it as a running gag that she's Scottish. Yeah. She doesn't have to be, that's funny enough, without it having to be like, oh, by the way, she's an alien. Because then, even though your satire is heavy-handed and you're doing the whole environmentally friendly fracking thing, by saying, or it could be aliens, you then ruin it. Like, you're ruining your own...
I agree.
It was a mess.
I agree. Yeah.
But there was enough in it. Like, I keep going back to, like, there was enough in it that I can't...
Well, that's the thing of
podcasting
and stuff. As soon after you see a movie, you're talking as things are unraveling at the same time, which is fun. I enjoy doing that every once in a while. I like doing it.
Yeah. No, well, that's the whole point. And, like, I might come back and watch this movie 2 years from now and hate it, or I might come back and love it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something that I think I'd like to watch.
Yeah, but I like doing this, and it was a movie that weirdly needed it. There was so much going on in it that I was like, and not necessarily in a good way. But you're right what you said. Like, commit to being top secret then. Make the top secret zombie movie. Because Shaun of the Dead is not a spoof zombie movie. It's a very serious zombie movie
and
that happens to have comedic characters in it.
Plenty of heart. I'm telling you, two things why Shaun of the Dead will always hold a place in my heart. The scene with the stepfather.
Yeah.
Just before he changes and he's like, hey, look, we always had a weird relationship, but I always like, and it's like he has to be the one to kill him. And then the very end, when it's just like, hey, I don't want my friend to die. Right. I know he's a zombie, but I'll keep him chained in the backyard and blah blah. Those two scenes of everything are, Well, no, I'm sorry, it was his mom that he had to. But I'm just saying, it's still the scene with the stepdad with Bill Nighy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's so much to love about Shaun of the Dead. They had a very clear vision on how to put it through.
Yeah.
I just feel like if that's your intention, you need to be more clear about it. But I didn't hate it.
No, and let me be. I feel like I can't stress enough that I definitely didn't hate it, and this is actually something that my fiance would totally love going, or even like in a group setting, like folks would like this. I'm just trying my best to separate the Marcus, who's one of his 10 favorite filmmakers in the world, and probably will be for as long as I live, Jim Jarmusch, seeing him give like a C+, knowing that he can be at an A+. It's been a while, but he can be at an A+. I think that, but taking that outside.
What are your A+ movies for you personally?
Yeah, from Permanent Vacation all the way through Night on Earth, which is a 5-movie run that's amazing. And then I don't even like Dead Man and stuff like that. I don't hate Dead Man. It's fine. I think that started the whole like mixture of like coolness with big name actors, because Dead Man's another one that quietly has the same kind of cast as The Dead Don't Die. I mean, Iggy Pop, Jared Harris, and Alfred Molina, and Johnny Depp, and
Robert Mitchum, right?
Robert Mitchum, and William Hurt, and all these people, Lance Hendricks, a lot of people. And then Ghost Dog is a personal A+, because there's a lot of internal racial things that for like a white guy from Cleveland to like, oh wow, you really kind of nailed that. You got that. And then after that, there hasn't been one. So excluding Ghost Dog, yeah. So from 1980 through 1991, I think he was at his A+ game all the way through. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
nice. Very cool. Very cool. But yeah, it doesn't. This didn't win me back to Jarmusch, but it didn't derail me either, and it has. I'm not a big Adam Driver fan, as most people know. I can, thanks to Black Klansman, I can now point directly to exactly what I'm talking about.
And he got nominated.
I know. I can't even believe why. I don't even know why.
It's not even like he was bad.
No.
But like he was just that's literally the epitome of like, you're just there.
As I've said before,
he got Academy Award for just being there.
As I've said before, there is literally a scene in the movie where the main guy says to him, you need to be more lively. You're too deadpan. Yeah, you need to be more lively because I talk lively. And it was a little bit of that black voice versus white voice joke. But it was also to say to him, like, if you are going to convincingly play me, if you're going to convincingly play me with these guys, you have to at least sound like me a little bit. And therefore, you need to bring your energy out, right? There's a whole scene in the middle of the movie. So I'm like, great, I'm getting ready to watch Driver, like, ramp it up and actually act. And
he shoots guns better. He starts to shoot the guns.
The rest of the movie, he's even more mumbly than he was in the first half of the movie. And I'm like, that right there is a scene in the movie that proves my point about Adam Driver.
Yeah.
You can't have range if you don't have energy.
I agree.
You can do mumblecore and hallelujah.
I feel like I take back what I was going to say, because I was going to say, unless that was your thing, you're going to be a character actor. But even when I think of the great character actors like J.T. Walsh had range, or Warren Oates
J.T. Walsh had range coming out of his...
so I take back what I was getting
I just watched... What did we watch? I just watched Red Rock West again the other day.
It's a great movie.
It's such a good movie.
My dad refused to call J.T. Walsh by his name in any movie he saw, because my dad thought that J.T. Walsh was so great in Needful Things as the Buster character. For as long as
He
J.T.
called him
Walsh, he
Buster?
got Buster, Pleasantville or like that Red Rock West, because that's Red Rock West specifically. That came on late night at cable once, and my dad was trying to tell me, he's like, there's this movie with Nicolas Cage, and this guy asked him to do this thing for him, but then it turns out the sheriff, it's Buster, but the sheriff is Buster. And I'm just like, but I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Can you imagine doing a film, though, where you pick literally 3 actors who are known for being difficult? Nick Cage, Dennis Hopper, and Lara Flynn Boyle.
Oh, I didn't know that about Lara Flynn Boyle.
She's known to be.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's not known
She's not.
to be
It's not like she's working a lot.
No, but she's known to be sticky. Sure. But forget that. Imagine working with Nick Cage and Dennis Hopper at the peak of their kind of craziness.
That was 92, 93.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's such a good movie. I'm so glad I watched that the other night. I've been kind of rewatching 90s thrillers recently, and that was such a good one to watch.
Have you, is Underneath on the list?
I haven't heard of Underneath.
Oh, it's like the forgotten fucking. It was during that forgotten Soderbergh period where he made Sex Lies and Videotape,
right?
And then his next movie was Kafka, the Jeremy Irons movie, and then people were just like, no, we want Sex Lies, so they whatever. It's this noir thriller, incestuous family,
and it's
crazy drama. Steven Soderbergh, 1995. It's Peter Gallagher. Peter Gallagher. I forgot who else is in it, but it's like
he worked with some weird. He worked with some great. He worked with Altman and
Soderbergh. He's got some. He's got some stuff under his belt. Yeah.
Before he became a crooner.
Yeah, exactly. Or the dad on OC.
Dude, this was
this is awesome. Thank you. I did want to see this. It was my little consolation because every year I go to Toronto, and we just got finished with the Cannes Film Festival. So seeing all these Cannes updates, and it's just like, I want to be there. And Dead Don't Die was one of the big movies there, so this is kind of like a nice little treat for not being able to go to Cannes.
Weird as well, because obviously Tarantino's new movie was there as well.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Which
I have zero interest in.
Yeah. Okay, you said it. Yeah. Me neither. I haven't. I'll get it. It's this funny thing. It gets worse. So it took me a year to finally see Django. It took me 2 years to finally see, what's the Western?
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. So who knows how long it's going to take me to see Hollywood, whatever.
Yeah. The only thing I liked about Hateful Eight is it had Tim Roth in it, and I love Tim Roth.
And Michael Madsen. Nice little Reservoir Dogs. Even just the whole them being stuck in a space kind of reminded me of it. And I love both Tim Roth and Michael Madsen. Yeah. I mean, wait, hold on. I love that whole cast. Let me take from Walton Goggins and
Bruce Dern and
exactly. Walton Goggins can do no wrong in my book, but it's the Tarantino touch. It's that
3 hours of navel gazing.
Yeah, and punching women in the face and N-word. It's just like he intentionally. Hey, this is the time. Everyone said it. Every other word. I'm not saying it. The characters are saying it. It's like, I heard it. Okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No. If you're making Jackie Brown, you can almost allow it. But if you're making Hateful Eight, it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, I definitely know what you mean.
Because Jackie Brown, that's a genre choice. It's also predominantly African American cast. It's set in that world. It's
strangely racially was changed too, because the character was originally a white one. Elmore Leonard's character.
Right. Yeah, no. From the book.
So
Yeah. And also, as much as I'm not a fan of Tarantino anymore, to be able to give Pam Grier that role at that point in her life.
Exactly.
I'll call him
Robert Forster too.
And Robert Forster too.
She's the star. Don't get it twisted. But there's a parallel thing.
No, 100%.
He's the male counterpart in that.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. Because whenever I see his name on a movie, I'll watch it.
He still shows up in he's in Mulholland Drive. He's in Twin Peaks. He was in The Descendants. I don't necessarily like The Descendants, but
he shows up
in these big high profile.
He shows up in stuff like, isn't he in like Olympus Has Fallen or one of those, like as one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? He always shows up in like these action movies as whatever.
So I'm not mad at that at all.
No. But post Jackie Brown is when I start to fall off.
I like Kill Bill 1, but unfortunately Kill Bill 1 is not a movie on its own. It's all about the whole thing. And that second Kill Bill, Jesus, the second Kill Bill.
You are the only other
what?
person I do not like the second one at all. I'm a big fan of the first one.
No,
but
I don't.
the
No,
second
that's what I'm saying. I like the first one. The
Right.
second one, I can't
You're the
stand.
only other person I've met who said
Really?
that. Everyone else I've ever known has said that they love the second one.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's so. I'm not trying to be arrogant. It's so easy to pick apart everything that's wrong with the second one.
The first one knows what it is.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need it in the world, but it knows exactly what it is, and it's
Sure.
absolutely fine, and I love it.
Sure.
If you've never seen a Shaw's Brother movie, by all means watch Kill Bill 1 and have a good time with it.
Yeah.
But Kill Bill 2 has no idea what it is.
No.
It's badly written. It's
Yeah.
overly long. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
then don't even get me started on Death Proof.
No, I don't, because we'll be here for another 2 hours.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Directors we hate, directors we love.
Yeah.
Movies we feel.
We're doing
15%.
and we're doing stuff in June. We're trying to June and July. We're working out guests. We got to get you on Zebras.
Yes, I wanna come
to
on
talk
Zebras.
about talk. Yeah, I think there's.
Have you ever done any like deep dive Gilliam stuff?
No, we have not.
Because I could
No.
probably talk deep dive.
Both me and
Gilliam.
Scott we like the good Gilliam. Well, just in general, we like Gilliam, but we don't like his good stuff. So yeah,
I mean, I
think
wouldn't
that-
necessarily retread like Brazil and stuff, but I
Yeah.
could do either that or like some random carpenters that never get talked about, like In the
down
Mouth
for
of
that.
Madness, Starman,
Say no more. Definitely
that
in the
kind
Mouth
of
of Madness.
stuff.
Yeah.
that doesn't really get talked
Yeah.
about very. Although In the Mouth of Madness is slowly having a resurgence.
Well, it's weird. In the Mouth of Madness is having a resurgence amongst like the snobby-ish artsy film Twitter people. I noticed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of, but yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny. There's always that one film fan that'll tell you Prince of Darkness is his favorite Carpenter movie, and I'm
Right.
like, it's not, though, is it? You're
Yeah,
saying
yeah. You
that.
just 1,000%.
I get it.
But if someone said, I wouldn't be mad if someone said Into Mouth of Madness.
no,
That
no.
would make me want to. But
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
if it Prince of Darkness, like you just kind of not pulled out of the hat. You wanted to be different, and I don't know.
I
if
love
you,
Prince of
you know,
Darkness.
Yeah.
I
You showed
love
it at
Prince
that
of
movie night
Darkness.
for
I
Halloween.
love it, but you can't say that's your favorite up against The Thing, or,
Yeah.
or up against Big Trouble in Little
Exactly.
China. Anyway, we've gone off on a tangent, but that's what I like.
Awesome.
Thanks ever so much for being on the show.
Oh,
dude.
please, awesome.
And I will come on Zebras anytime, and
Great.
you're welcome back in the diner anytime.
Thank you, man. This is great.
Let people know where they can find you again.
Yeah, it's if you want on Twitter, it's at Pinnland_Empire. If you go to PinnlandEmpire.com, or if you just Zebras in America, we're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, all that great stuff. So
Awesome. Great. Thanks, man.
Is there a motel in town?
Yeah, there is one just down the road. Oh, that's a really good CD. Sturgill Simpson, The Dead Don't Die.
Yeah, I know. I love this song. Is it nice?
What?
The motel.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's one of those old school ones.
Like in old school horror movies with like in Psycho with the separated bungalows.
The Bates Motel in Psycho was not separated into little bungalows. That's $12 for the CD and $2 for the soda.
Here you go. You can just keep the change.
Oh, cool.